you, Dad. You brought us a lot of laughs over the years.
Get fucked, it's not green yet, you dickhead. You're a fucking Mitchell dickhead!
He quotes it a lot, don't you?
Me go, are you free tonight? I'll be like, no. I'll be like, yeah, I'm free. Do you want to do something? And he'll just go, fuck, that's so hot, honey. Like, that's like
Fucking hot, honey.
I didn't leave Collingwood and go to another footy club. I left Collingwood and I sit on the fucking couch. It was a horrible 25 years of my life, basically. And, you know, I never shared that with anyone.
All right, Dos, sitting across from us now is a man who possibly unintentionally at the time gave us our teenage years an absolute laugh, belly laugh, day after day, week after week. Mark Orval, better known as Angry Dad. Welcome to the dos&d show.
Thanks for having me, boys. I thought I would have actually taken up the double-seater and you squeezed on this because it's holding the sides in, so it's perfect.
You look comfy. That's good, mate. Well,
I am
you're
comfy.
in Melbourne, on the Gold Coast now, but bit of footy tonight.
Yeah, the Pies and Hawks. Haven't been to a game here for, geez, I'd hate to think, to be honest. I'm a bit excited like I'm playing. I was sort of sweating up walking. You know, I wasn't sure if it was because of the walk or because of the nerves because I am going the footy.
Are you the most famous 7-game player in AFL history and will have the biggest following?
Do you know what? I look back on that and I still am actually blown away how many people actually do remember that small contribution that I actually made. Because for me, I was just proud of the fact I ticked that box of playing one game, right? Mm-hmm. And I dreamt of playing 250. Let's not kid ourselves. That's every young kid's dream. But yeah, I do scratch myself sometimes and think, wow, that's just crazy. If someone happens to ask a question and whatever, yeah, look, it's back in the 80s, you got no idea. No, I remember you, whatever. Like it is. It's actually really, it's crazy.
Mm. You went through you obviously had a fair share of injuries. That's what ended up, bringing your career to a much shorter, I guess, length. But I went reading that you had like about, was it 8 or 9 surgeries?
Yeah, 9.
9?
Yep.
And I was just saying to Dee, at that time, in that era, that's a shitload of surgeries. Like, in terms of modern medicine and the way everything works now, like for that period of time, that seems almost like excessive.
What sort of compounds it all is, that's 9 operations on a tiny bone in your foot, which is the navicular, which is in your arch and takes all the weight. So you're in and out with screws and fake bone and all this sort of shit trying to get a tiny bone right. Pretty much what happens is, and they know that now, is if you stuff it up the first time, you're gone. And I was a guinea pig, I suppose, back then. Yeah. They didn't know anything about them. I played on it for 2 years without knowing it, yeah. And it was all just about getting my mind right. It was all just about that sort of step up from being a skinny country kid that was training one night a week to coming down here, a bit more load on your body and all that, even though I was only sort of mid-80s, 88 kilos or something like that. So it was sort of above the shoulders, they thought was the majority of my issue. And they didn't really have the technology to detect back then. It was X-ray and bone scan, right? And a navicular stress fracture is a really minute thing initially. And I'll never forget the day when they actually sort of took it to the next level and did a CT scan, and there it was, lo and behold, there. And I remember smashing the desk of our Collingwood doctor at the time, and I said, I fucking told you.
Yeah.
I knew there was something else. And then they had a crack at it, and the first surgery didn't go to plan. The screw went in too far, pulled it out, and really the rest history. It was sort of like, it was maintenance mode then, trying to like just recover. How can we actually salvage something from this? I had battery operated bone stimulator flown in from America, bone off both my hips. They tried everything, but every time, I'd just ramp up. I could get through the training and then build up to sort of game, but the minute the tempo went up, bang, just go again. The screws and the bone, bloody
Graft?
That's the one I'm looking for. Would just break.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I can close my eyes and it's just horrible memories. But good memories at the same time too, which sounds weird.
Well, you probably don't end up here if that didn't happen as well. I don't know, like your successful life, real estate, kids, Gold Coast.
My looks carry me a long way.
That's right. Absolutely do.
No, you're right. No, that's true. It is 100%. Like it's funny how people's lives just play out, isn't it?
Can you take us back to the late 80s playing for Collingwood? Take us back to that culture, the lifestyle. You said coming from Hamilton and into the big smoke of Collingwood Footy Club. Take us behind the scenes and into that life and that world.
Look, I'd been to Melbourne probably 2 times before I actually moved down here. So it was just daunting for me. And I lived with Mickey McGuan out at Watsonia, and it involved early days, as in getting up early to walk
look
to
at that,
to walk
mate.
There
to
we
a
go.
train station.
There we go.
I tried to get that. Oh, geez, it's a bit different now with the old black versus grey, isn't it? Eh? Wow. But I'd get up in
Baby
the
face.
mornings at like 6 o'clock to walk to a train station to catch a train into the city, a train then out to Taronga because I was at Telstra being an apprentice, which is the only reason Mum let me come down here, Mum and Dad. And then you'd have to catch another train after work to footy, train, and then catch a taxi home, and you'd get home at 8:30, 9 o'clock. It was daunting for me. I used to cry every morning saying, why am I doing this?
Really?
Like, oh, yeah.
So,
well, you
maybe
leave
just-
home at 16. Your mum says goodbye and she's crying, and it's like, wow. Like, this is really weird. Because it all happened pretty quick too. They were watching me for probably 2 years, right? But then all of a sudden when it happened. I got the job, which was a must for Mum. It was apprenticeship. You're not going there without a job. And I was pretty much bag packed and down here within a week.
How long is the typical drive from Hamilton to Melbourne?
4 hours.
And you were doing that, well, obviously by train, but
No, this is when I moved here,
Oh, when you
right?
moved here,
When
sorry,
I moved here.
yeah.
But just on the whole drives thing, right? So I'd been here. I come here at 16 and I'd never driven in Melbourne, didn't have one lesson here. This is how things have changed, right?
Yeah.
Listen to this, it'll blow your mind. I wouldn't let my kids do this at 30, let alone at 17 turning 18. But I went to the pub and had beers on the eve of my 18th, knowing that I was catching a bus home that night. So I arrived back in Hamilton late that night, got up, got my licence, hopped in my little red Tirana, little 4x4 manual, bang, and I drove from Hamilton. I've never driven out of Hamilton. Never driven 1 metre out of Hamilton, right? Drove from Hamilton to Vic Park to get to training.
Wow.
No phones those days with Mum saying, hey, you go and be careful, whatever. So I rang them at like 9 o'clock that night when I got to training, finished, and then drove out to Watsonia where I was living to say, yeah, I arrived home safely. Oh, good, I'm in bed asleep. So I'll ring you tomorrow.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
In the old Melways, I assume.
Yeah, Melways.
yeah, Melways.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, I sort of half knew where I was going because I'd been here for, a year and 16, 18 months, but I'd never driven. And I remember, I was shit myself, absolutely shit myself. Country roads, then get into the city. And the only near miss I had was on the corner of Hoddle Street and Johnson Street. I'm 100 metres from the club and I was hit the anchors. So I did all right, I thought. I did all right.
That's still a horrible part of Melbourne driving. That nothing's changed there. I mean, I hate driving up Hoddle Street.
Me too.
But can you imagine you letting your kid do that these days?
No.
You just wouldn't. It was all care, no responsibility. It's like when you grew up. Your parents would be home, you get on your bike, piss off, go to the pool or your mate's house or whatever, go fishing, and you just turn up when you're hungry, 5 o'clock. They're not checking on you, wondering where you are. It's like, oh, okay, how's your day? No worries. You bath and piss off to bed, off you go, It's just weird.
What's the post footy career? I mean, what's the transition? What is it like? I mean, there's so much gets talked about today about helping our players transition into life after football and obviously more so now with concussions and the long lasting effects of them and the AFLPA. There's so many variables within it. For you, what was that period like leaving the game?
Terrible. It was a horrible 25 years of my life, basically. And, I never shared that with anyone. And I did a documentary about 5 years ago, where I shared that with even my closest friends who didn't know the pain that I went through for a long, long time. And, my mum and dad and Sharon were the only ones that really knew about what I was going through. I kept it to myself because, again, it's this whole blokey thing, you know what? No one wants to see someone cry or be in this bad spot because it's not real, It's a persona thing. But my life was hell for 25 years. And to the extent that, Sharon basically said to me, you need to go and get some help or I'm out of here. And I think we had Mitchell at that stage too, but she'd put up with enough shit for long enough. I couldn't deal with it, right? It was acceptance in terms of you uprooted your life to come down and deliver on your dreams, which is every young kid's dream that loves playing footy. And all of a sudden it was taken away from you. And I mean, I spent 7 years there from 16s, playing in the 19s, reserves, and then a few in the seniors, and then still trying to come back. But you still don't prepare yourself for that discussion, which was basically, you're a list clogger now, Orvs, you got to go. And we were wasting one another time. I accepted that. But when you get home and you sit on the couch and you know tomorrow is different than today, it's not hard. It's not easy to deal with. And I dealt with it in a very bad way.
You said then, Sharon said, you said Sharon put up with enough of your shit for 25 years. What do you mean by that?
Well, I was just an angry, aggressive prick, basically. And, you know, you turn to drink and things like that. And was I binge drinking every day, every night? No, but I was horrible when I did. So I'd go out and there wouldn't be many occasions when we went out in our early years where I wasn't fighting someone because I'd look for it. I'd want it. You know, it was like my release. And, you know, there might have been someone there that, you know, was an ex-boyfriend or something, Sharon's or whatever, and I'd just walk up and just smack them. Like, and I sit here thinking, how embarrassing. If my kids did that, I'd whack them myself now. But that's just how you deal with it. And it was just horrible.
Dealing with what exactly? Frustration or?
Yeah, it's acceptance, really. Acceptance that, you know what, this is the end. It's final, right? You tried, you gave it a crack, and you can celebrate that. But the cold, hard reality is you're not coming back. Mm-hmm. So you plan then for life outside and after footy. And it's like, well, what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
Now, I was already sort of half in sales and all this sort of shit. And as it turns out, you know, I end up having a good corporate sort of life and career. But tell someone that's just been given a flick from an AFL club that, you know, everything will be okay. And especially when I didn't play a senior game after I was 20. Especially when you're that young, right? And you're trying to just comprehend it. And all your mates are still there. McGuan, Krasiska, you know, they were groomsmen in my wedding, Dakes, groomsmen in my wedding. All those guys are there and they're getting through. They're playing 250-odd games, whatever, and they have injuries, but they get over it and recover. Well, why me, right? Yeah. So I was feeling sorry for myself, absolutely. You know, when you can sit back and reflect on it and just, you know, look at what it actually was, but at the time it's not fun.
Did you begrudge those boys at all? Like,
yeah.
You know, was there some? We've used this term before, but you know, there's obviously professional jealousy, but you're friends with them, so it's hard to, you know, feel that way to a friend. But you're saying there was some of that.
Yeah, because what happens is, like, doesn't matter what footy club you're at or what level, right? Once you're no longer playing there, you go in a different direction. And what I wasn't able to have to fulfill a bit of that hole was a new group of mates, right? Because I didn't leave Collingwood and go to another footy club. I left Collingwood and I was sitting on the fucking couch because my body was wrecked. I could never play sport again. That's the difference, right? Transitioning to make new mates and all that sort of shit would have helped it. So then what you're doing is sitting there on a Saturday watching them run around, and it was a bitter pill to swallow.
We're going to go back to your story, but just almost fast forwarding to today, like for you sitting here now, we're lucky enough to have Gavin sit there and talk for an hour or hour and a half very openly about his battles. Would you ever imagine you guys would have come this far down the line to be able to just talk so openly about these things that have sat within you for some people as a secret for so many years? Probably
not, but I think at the end of the day it's something worth celebrating, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because it's like, as a society, like there's enough pressure on people in society these days anyway, without it being compounded by other issues and challenges. So I watched the Gav interview. It was fantastic. Good job, guys. And I don't see Gav or talk to Gav much at all anymore, but I lived with him for 5 years or maybe a bit longer, and he was a groomsman. And your life's just different paths. If we bump into each other, you know, we say good day, we have a laugh, and, you know, the good old times, etc. But I think the fact that he sort of suffered in silence for a long time too, but he's now able to talk about it. But more than just talking about it, he's able to actually put his experiences to good use and help others, is where he's to be commended.
And what I'll just quickly, just to commend you both, and we're talking off air about something irrelevant to the conversation now, but I think there's a big element of taking ownership as well and putting your hand up and saying, this is what I've done, acknowledging that it was right or wrong. Whereas a lot of people, the frustration is a lot of people don't, and they always play the high card. I'm above it all. I'm a perfect human, or I'm a good human on this. But then when shit happens in life, there's blaming somebody else, an event or somebody else. It's not me. It's not me. But there's a big. I always I always admire people that just put their hand up and say, I got it wrong, I mucked up, and now this is what I'm doing to make changes.
Yeah, and I sort of become a bit of an advocate for it at the time that I come out with the doco, which wasn't ideal because it was COVID, right? So I had these sort of plans to just sort of roll it out in some respects and actually do a few things, and it all got cold, which is okay because it is what it is. Like, shit happens for a reason. But still every day, you know, I'm very, very vocal about it in different ways. I'm not necessarily out in public, you know, sort of half grandstanding and talking about it, but I do it in my own little subtle way. And, you know, whether it's Instagram, social media or whatever, I help a lot of people continuously, right? And that's, for me, that provides some satisfaction around, you know, just being able to share my insights, but also know that I've actually helped someone. I've talked to people on the phone that were about to commit suicide, right? And that's tough when a couple of them were in Tassie, actually, going back probably one was 3 years ago, one was probably 5 years ago. That's tough, that shit. You know, because I'm not a trained psychologist or psychiatrist, right? So you just got to try and talk to these people. And they're crying out to you, can I please talk to you? Can I please talk to them? Well, you can't shy away from that and say no. It's like, yeah, well, mate, here's my number, call me, right? So, you know, I'm sort of, I think for me what it does, it validates the whole no more silence approach to mental health and the like. And I think one of the things I was sort of able to do is through this whole period where I had all that professional help and medication and the like to help me, you learn to actually deal with it. It never goes away, but you find yourself being able to sort of detect triggers, things that bring it on, right? Mm-hmm. Because life's like that, right? And it's when you feel that you're continuing to go here rather than bouncing up that you go, hang on, something's not right at the moment. What is it? Is it pressure for finance? Is it whatever? Deep breath, you know what to do. And there was this old saying, this lady that I spoke with for a long time to help me, and it was the simplest saying was drop the anchor. Pretty much what you do in a boat, you know. You let the anchor go and everything goes with it. The chain goes and it holds the boat there steady. That's what you need to do in terms of what you're carrying above the shoulders that you feel is triggering you, bringing you down. Drop the anchor. Let it go. Let it go. And I practice it. I don't sit in the lounge room with everyone watching going, oh, what are you doing? You know, but I do it, you know, instinctively, internally, because no one knows your own body or mind like you, right? Mm-hmm. Because everyone's life has a lot of pressure in it. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're rich or poor, fat or skinny, right? That's just how it is. So dealing with it and being able to help others deal with it, that's important for me because that's a legacy I'll leave, right? Mm-hmm. And that was compounded with all this angry dad shit, right? Laughter's the best medicine. And the only reason the boys went viral the way they did so quickly back then is because it told me that there was a gap in society where people needed laughter. And they turned to that organically because they could relate to it. Oh, Dad would do that if I turned the tally off and he was trying to watch the news and he was wondering what was going on. And think about it.
Yeah.
Your dad would do it.
Yeah.
Everyone's dad would do it. And so that's just how it is. And I still to myself sit here thinking it's crazy. I don't know if I've got the most recognisable head in the street or whether it's a black T-shirt or fat gut, but like it was only around for a few years, the whole angry dad side of things, and it's still just so prevalent these days, but in a good way.
Yes.
You know, you got me through all this shit. I still get 20 messages a day from people, right? So if at the end of the day, what they did to me, right, I copped it, has helped someone else, I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with it.
I'm assuming you became a father throughout this struggle. Was that?
Yep, absolutely.
So how did you go with like learning fatherhood and becoming a dad and going through this challenge of your own whilst trying to, you know, being a dad is probably, you know, well, you don't know until you have it. So for you, whilst going through something so difficult, how did you go with bringing your family into the world at the same time?
I was lucky I had a super mum beside me, basically. I was working, right? And that was enough stress as it was. And Sharon was a copper too. So that had its own complexity, shift work and all this sort of shit. But she was pretty superhuman because she was dealing with me and the kids, right? Especially Dylan. And Dylan, I've talked to Dylan about this, right? Because he's almost like a clone of me, the same story, Crows, drafted, injury, this shit, could have been anything, depression and all this sort of shit. And I don't think the way I fathered him helped him either, because I wasn't a good dad to Dylan. I was probably a bit better with Mitchell. And
what kind of pressures were you putting on him?
Look, I was dealing with the shit, right?
Yeah.
That I'm now working for a living rather than playing footy.
Yeah.
And, little things. I can remember sitting in the back of the car and I'm picking him up from childcare and you're going home. He's hungry. He's 18 months old or whatever. And he's hungry. He wants something to eat. And I'll be telling him, just shut up. Just fucking shut up. We're nearly home. Like, it's not what you do to your kids, So I'm not proud of a lot of that. But that's how you learn. There's no rule book, right? And I was dealing with my own shit. So maybe I actually got through it better than potentially I could have, right? But I was far from a good dad with Dylan and Mitchell, far from it. And we talk about it openly. And they remind me that you're just a grumpy prick, Dad. You're actually just a grumpy prick. And Mitchell, Mitchell knew if he played shit, the first thing footy on a Sunday, the first thing you do is go to Sharon and say, "Can I go back to Steve's house? Because I don't want to get in the car with Dad and go home because he's just he's going to rip me." And she'll go, "Just go to Steve's house." Yeah. And I'll get in the car. "Where's Mitchell?" "Oh, he's going to Steve's to play." He's fucking putrid today. He was absolutely useless. Fair. Well, he can't even he go, "Oh my God, on the move, Mitchell." But they knew because I was a prick like that, and I'm not proud of it, but you can't shy away from it. And we have a little bit of a laugh about it these days because one of the things Dylan and Mitchell are very, very, very good at is not making the same mistakes as me, right? So, and I don't look at that and go, "That's insulting. How dare you say that?" Good on them, I say, that they've seen where my flaws were as a father and they're not repeating history with their own kids. They're very, very, very good with their own kids. And as a granddad and as someone watching your own kids bring up their kids, that's a big box tick for me. Very big box tick because it means they've actually turned out as pretty good humans.
Can I just jump in? You mentioned medication and therapy and doing the work yourself earlier, which, I'll put my hand up too, which, I've gone through, seen a counsellor for a long time, had some medication here and there. But to anyone listening who might be going through a similar thing, I've always found there's been this, I don't know if it's a cloud or bubble over the top of anyone taking medication that it can be looked at as, why do you need that? Or, you don't need to have, medication to overcome anything mental health related. Did you ever go through any of those challenges?
Oh, absolutely. I questioned myself for many, many years before I did it as to why would I? No, I'm not being weak and going to do that. My issues I'll deal with myself. Well, it was only because push become shove and Sharon said, "Well, I'm going." And I said, okay, let me go and see someone bang. And you know what? For those that potentially are questioning whether it's worth that investment in seeking professional help that may or may not involve medication, you know what? What I say is try it. If you're actually at that point where you're actually struggling and you're not functioning and it's causing family issues or just issues with yourself because you're questioning how you are, just go and do it. Doesn't mean you're on it forever. I was probably on it 12, 13, 14 years. It's a long time. But I challenged myself to get off it. And I've been off it now for probably the same amount of time, 12,
really?
13, 14 years, yeah. Wow. And it's only because, does that mean that at some point I might get to a point where I've got to go back on it? I don't know. I'll be trying to avoid that because I've learnt enough to know triggers and deal with it yourself. But you can't sit here as someone that's actually struggled with it for a long, long time and know that one day you'll never hit a low where you might need it again. It's not weak anymore to do that, right? It's about actually allowing you to get yourself to a point where you can actually then think and function correctly to then fix your issues with the help of others, right? You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it on your own anymore. That's the good thing about society. There's a lot of bad things about society these days. That's the good thing about it. It's no longer frowned upon. And if anyone does frown upon them, well, they shouldn't be in your circle anyway. And if it's some putrid pig anonymously, whatever, well, then what they think about you is none of your business anyway. Just irrelevant. See you later. Doesn't matter. That's how it is.
Now, I'm sure for a lot of you, this episode is very nostalgic. It's the content, the Angry Dad content. I used to love it, and I know you did too. But we'll get back to this one with Mark Orval in a minute. But Fleet Plant Hire, we need to take a moment to thank them.
This moment, there's no prank in this, Dos.
No.
This is dead serious. When we talk about the best in the business for their customer care, we mean it. So when you've got a job that you need doing and you need some equipment to hire, visit these guys. They will look after you.
Or earth moving. So the earth moving equipment, whether it's a big project or a small project, just ring them.
Yep.
Ring Chris. Ring anyone there at Fleet, and they'll get you the equipment that you need without a worry.
Stress-free. Visit fph.com.au right now to find out more information.
Back to the episode with Mark.
I'm really interested to move on shortly into the whole Angry Dad thing because it ties nicely into kind of this whole story. But just quickly, I'm really interested to hear a little bit more about your parenting back then, especially when it came to sport, kids sport. I'm lucky enough now I actually coach under 16s, so the local footy area, and now you deal with a lot of parents.
Yep.
Thankfully, at our club, all really, really good, all very positive. Opposition, sometimes not so much. So we'll throw it under them. But in terms of pressure, putting pressure on boys or girls playing sport, especially when you come from a professional background, what would you do differently, if anything, now looking back? Because obviously, like you said, I mean, there was still a lot of success there, especially with Dylan.
I think I'd find a balance between negative criticism and constructive criticism. That would be the first thing, because whilst I'd recognise where they did good things, I'd always focus on the bad things. And that's why I love Craig McRae so much these days at that level where he recognises he's dealing with people. You should... if I had my time again, I'd 100% do that. And I was really, really hard on Dylan and Mitchell, really hard. And you hear the stories about Bucks and his old man and how hard he was on him, etc. I sort of almost like, ooh, when I hear stories, or the boys remind me, because I was absolutely too hard. And then got to Hannah, right, who was she was very natural when it comes to sport and all that sort of stuff as well. And I would just basically say, well, I wish my boys were as tough as you, Hannah. You would have gone a long way. And just say, you guys are putrid. Have a look at your sister. She's got a better build than you, and she's actually tougher and she's smarter than you. And so I'd just try and be funny and flippant, basically. Yeah. But I never had to push Hannah at all. She was very, very driven with everything that she does, whether it was her homework or whether it was her school. Everything she sets her mind to, she actually just goes at it 110%.
So... I think it's time to get
Yes,
into,
it is.
I guess, this is where we know you,
Yep.
Mark, is Angry Dad. You brought us a lot of laughs over the years. Still do, actually. Actually, we were just talking before, and one of the videos, D actually quotes quite a lot. He quotes it a lot, don't you?
Yeah, we still actually in our friendship group, we always just go, "Fuck, that's hot, honey."
That was probably one of the earlier ones, to be honest.
Oh, mate. I was going to ask just before we do, Dos. I want to ask you a question quickly.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you came across Angry Dad and what it was?
I don't remember specifically. Like,
Don't say you're sitting on the toilet.
no, it might have been with our friendship group.
Because I remember, Mark, for myself, I was sitting around a group of guys, I think it was at the footy club, and there was just this conversation that I just didn't feel part of.
Yep.
Because everybody was just saying, oh, this is my favourite video. Have you seen this one? Have you seen this one? I went home, I just could not stop watching from that day on. And
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
It's just nuts. But we're going to show a bit of an
well,
example.
actually, before you click play, you would remember, what was the first video that the boys filmed of you?
I think the actual first video was that. Fuck, hell, that's hot, honey. Right? They'd sort of done a couple of little short takes on Snapchat and a few other things just to get a bit of attention from their mates in different groups, etc. But I think the first one was that one. It's fucking hot, honey, and that still gets
It's fucking hot, Sharon.
that still gets
Yeah.
played on what's that American video show? They message every year and say,
Not America's
use
funniest
it?
home videos.
oh my God, Father.
Is it not with that famous...
Ridiculous.
Ridiculousness.
Yeah. Every year they still
show.
run it.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's great. They send a form saying, do you mind if we still keep using it? No, knock yourself out. Doesn't matter. No worries.
We quote that to the extent that, like, and this has gone on for 10 or 12 years now. Like, I would say, my mate would text me and go, are you free tonight? I'd be like, no. I'd be like, yeah, I'm free. Do you want to do something? And he'll just go, fuck, that's so hot, honey. Like, that's like it gets quoted in every possible situation we can throw it in.
That is funny, isn't it?
Hit play, Connor. So we've got a
classic.
video. We'll get your reaction to one of your all-time classics.
So I've just been on the phone to Angry Dad. He's had a massive night last night, feeling real hungover. I'm like, where are you, mate? He goes, just going to get some sushi. and I know Angry Dad far too well to know he's not getting sushi. So I'm just camped outside KFC.
This was an early one too.
Guarantee-
This is
guarantee
probably
he's
2
in
or
there.
3 or 4, I reckon. Like as in really early.
I'm still waiting.
how
for
young
How young
Mitchell
Mitch is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But any money he's going to come
He's a
though.
baby.
It's going to be an absolute fucking pisser.
God, he is young, isn't he? Jesus.
Yeah, there he is.
He's young.
Jeez, I wish I still fit in that blue t-shirt.
Proof. Angry Dad's car. It's a fucking funny looking sushi, this place.
So I think I hear it.
Hey, how's the chicken?
Sprung.
It's a funny looking sushi. I'm telling Mum, you won't be able to call out to Sharon for this one. You're supposed to be on a diet.
Yum.
You just got sprung red.
Oh.
He was an annoying little prick.
Oh.
I was too
I
scared.
don't know how you did it.
I was too scared to have a shower, basically.
Ladies, let's see how this goes down. Sharon.
I love that house. That was Will's.
How was sushi? How was sushi?
Fucking stalker.
Oh, was that my mum sitting on the couch? I think
it
it was.
actually?
I think it was.
Sushi? Did you know that?
That's
How'd
a
it go
shit, I
down?
see.
Oh, you've gone to eat it in the toilet.
No.
Oh.
Was it nice?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
not.
I just hiding from him. Prick.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
so funny.
That's
That's so
yeah.
funny.
You're right. It's so relatable, and it's not doing something that none of us have probably done before. I mean, I've definitely done that.
Oh, we all have.
Of
Yeah.
course.
In terms of the content itself, that's why it did so well. Is because a lot of people's dads were that.
Yeah, it was
you know?
raw and relatable. Is how I describe it. It can only be that, right? Because they weren't pumping ads into it,
No.
push, promote, and all this sort of shit. It didn't exist for a start. Monetization was only just about to start. Because this is the thing: the boys made no money out of it. Zero money. And these days, people that do all these pranks and that shit, and they're all set up anyway, they make millions.
Yeah, I must admit, I do giggle these days at a few of the boys up your way,
Yeah.
like Sami and Shami. I was gonna say Shami and all those boys. And I just go like, I saw one this morning, and one's on the phone, pretending to be on the phone, and then pushes him into the pool. I'm like, as funny as it is, sometimes I go, oh, is it
But
fake?
you know what the thing is? People still watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They
I
still
do.
get a laugh. They still get the views, and they make a shitload of money out of
They
it.
do.
So, like, they're sitting back going, we probably don't care what anyone thinks. We're still actually providing funny content for part of the market, and we're making decent money
Yep.
while we do it. So, good on them,
100%. So let's dive into this world a little bit. When did you first clue on, or not clue on, when did you first find out these videos were being put online? Was it a secret for you, or were they just saying, Dad, look how many people are watching
No,
this?
it was no secret. The minute they did it, like that pretty much that's what they're doing. I was saying, oh my God, look at this. Fuck off. Like, it's like, okay, well, you got your jollies for the day, good,
Yeah.
piss off, whatever. But what had happened is then they'd put one up, and then all of a sudden, it'd have millions of views quickly, and then you'd have all the radio stations ringing. Can we talk to your dad? It was like, oh,
Yeah.
for God's sake, so it was just a really, really crazy time.
How paranoid were you throughout
Very.
it? Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's so many that didn't make it to the air
Yeah.
towards the end because you'd sense something. So they live with us then at that
Yep.
time, right? So they could be opportunistic. But
Yep.
the minute they shifted out or were toing and froing, if I knew they were
Bit
both
obvious.
coming, there was like, oh yeah, no, piss off. Like, what, I'm not stupid, whatever. So there was a lot that
Yeah.
didn't make it, or I fixed up the content so they couldn't actually post it.
What was the worst one they did?
I still got a tattoo on my ass.
Do you?
Yeah, because we launched a chat app called Banter,
Yeah.
and we had
I remember that.
it was an insane game. It was an insane app, right? It introduced gamification to chat apps, right, where you had basic WhatsApp, which is just text. This had gamification, which is where the world's heading. And our friend Jerry built it. It was insane. He was involved in it.
Wait, sorry. Did you watch Ted Lasso?
Yeah, love Ted Lasso.
Wasn't that on Ted Lasso? Banter?
Yeah,
An app?
100%
Did they
it was.
steal that?
Absolutely. No, they didn't steal it. No.
Sorry to cut you off. but I
No,
was
no,
like-
you're right.
Yeah.
When I watched it last year, I actually did, and it's still my email address still is Banter,
Yeah.
because we had huge plans for that, and we had massive downloads on the first few days. like 150, 200,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
huge. And then it just went to shit. There's a couple of reasons that I won't speak about on here because someone will be sitting out there listening and will be swallowing, knowing that they're the root cause of it. But I don't have my lawyer with me today, so I better be careful what I'm saying. But we had massive plans for that, and we went to Gold Coast to launch it. Shammy and them were there, created some of the content with us, and again that just had huge cut through. Anyway. Part of the app was a randomizer. It was called Randomizer, where it randomly selected a person in your chat group to do whatever. It might be pay the bill, their shout, jump off the roof, whatever.
Yeah.
And this was to get Banter tattooed on their ass, right? And it's all on film. I legitimately lost it. So we went to actually do the tattoo in the Gold Coast, but we'd all been drinking and the tattooist wasn't going to do it. So when we got home, they reminded me that I needed to get Banter, the logo, and that tattooed on my ass. So unbeknownst to me, Mitchell, and I like, how dumb am I? Mitchell arranged this guy to come to our house in Mount Waverley and do it. But he showed me the stencil and all this sort of shit. No worries. Okay, it's only this big, a bit smaller, whatever. Okay, tattoo, filmed it. Yeah, all right, okay, well, I lost, whatever. Have a look at it, whatever. Have a look, turn around, have a look. Oh. And there's an arrow with the words insert here, it's poking to me arsehole. And that's still there. That is actually still
Those
there.
little shits.
Yeah, that's right.
That is shocking.
They've basically defaced human property here.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'll take that to the grave. When I die, they can actually bury me face down and just be reminded of it.
Insert here.
Yeah, insert here with an arrow
That
under
is
my
cheeky.
backside.
Do you have any others that stick out around the house? I mean, one of my favourites was the hose in the garden.
Oh, yeah.
I used to I loved the garden ones. But
See, because they're annoying. Like,
Yeah.
I'm out there trying to fix a hose system and shit, whatever, and they just don't leave you alone. Like, just leave me alone,
Yeah.
Oh, look, the honk if you're horny one is still probably...
That blew up the most, didn't it? That
probably.
went
Yeah, I
nuts.
think that
It's like
probably
400
did.
million views or
Yeah,
something.
it's just ridiculous. But
You're sitting at a set of lights.
every prick's bitten me.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay, one or two, whatever, but it was the constant. And we were driving in here to, where was it? South Melbourne somewhere. I was going to a meeting with Mitchell. What's fucking going on here? Like, it's just crazy. And then, that one blew up. I remember, Mitchell's phone didn't stop ringing after that one. But one of the funniest ones I found, well, there's two actually.
Yep.
If you knew, Mitchell was always a bit of a magician, right? And this one was very, very short and sharp. And this is the first time he sort of hid the camera a little bit rather than just holding it or whatever he was doing. And I was just sitting out at the back on the table with the computer, and my face in that isn't even in it hardly. That's how quick this all happened. But I was, doing whatever. And Mitch said, "Dad, have a list. This is an insane trick." And it was almost took me back to when he was a kid doing magic. And I said, "What?" And he goes, "The coin. I can get the coin in the bottle or whatever."
Yes, I
Do you remember that simple one? He goes, "Watch this," and he put a thing over it, whatever, and he goes, "Now the coin's in the bottom, is it?" And you lean over and they just squirt the bottle, right?
Yeah.
So something as basic as that, straight up my nose, in my eyes, and I'm going, "Oh, yeah, fucking know." When I look at any of them, I actually only laugh at that one. Because
Really?
I got sucked in, didn't I? Like that was
Yeah.
that was pretty naive of me. But I was going back to his childhood where he loved magic, and he was, he was always doing magic, little prick.
So what ended up eventuating from this? Because I'd love you to share the story about, what the whole family have been able to, create from it, from Mitchell to Dylan to Hannah to Sharon as well and yourself. How has it changed your life?
Oh, look, I think, what it's allowed us to do is meet a lot of beautiful, amazing people. Because financially, at the end of the day, I suppose it gave us opportunity. But we can't sit here today and say, "Wow, that was so good, we can retire." Right? That just didn't happen, and they were a bit premature. That's why. But again, it is what it is. Happens for a reason. But yeah, we've been able to just meet a lot of amazing people. That's the beautiful thing about all this. Is as I sit back and look at it, and okay, I was the one that suffered as a result of it, but we've met a lot of great people, and I think we've helped a lot of people as well.
You know what I just thought though? There might be an evolution, whereas there might be, angry granddad, and the kids, might in a few years' time, the grandkids.
Let me tell
Who
you.
knows?
Well, we live in a little 2-bedroom unit in Broadbeach, and when they're all over, like you've got 4 4 boys, right? So you got 5, 4, 3, 2 pretty much. Now a little girl. But they come to our apartment, they're running around, they're pulling curtains off the hooks and oh my God, because they're just active, right? I get anxiety, fair dinkum. It's just, it stresses me out massively. But they're just beautiful kids. I fill them full of jelly beans and Banter and then send them home. You go and deal with it.
Yeah, you're a parent's nightmare.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But you know what, Steve, shit's about time they got a bit back, I reckon.
Yeah.
When you're in the thick of it, what was it like when you? What was it like then? So did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Were people coming up to you in the street? Like right when it was really peaking and the videos were constantly being filmed, yeah, where were you at?
I'd annoyed the shit out of me, them doing it, right? Like just because again, I didn't feel safe having a shower.
Yeah.
It was as simple as that. But you know, the people side of things, again, people are fantastic.
Yeah.
Because again, what it showed me was it made everyone laugh, and they would basically thank you for actually providing them with that laughter. And whether it took them from a bad spot or not, they just wanted the laughter, they were actually happy to share it with you. And it's everywhere I go still.
Yeah.
At the airport today, you know, like everywhere I go, people just go, oh my God, thank you, you funny prick, whatever. Like, oh yeah, no worries, right?
Yeah.
But it's, and everyone was always, there's been very few smart asses, right, in person. Actually, I think there's one that I sort of tapped him on the chin because I warned him once, I warned him twice. When you don't listen the third time, that
You
was
dealt
it.
with him.
I dealt with him, but that's okay. That happens.
Yeah.
By and large, everyone's unreal. You know, you got the anonymous pricks that hide behind shit, but they do that every day, and it says more about them than me.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk more about your career in terms of, well, now you're obviously in real estate, but what got you to real estate?
I've always been corporate. So even here, I worked for Nilex, I worked for Amcor, I worked for City West Water, sort of in exec roles. I went and worked for Bauer Media for 3 years. So I've always had a good corporate career, and that's clearly what allowed us to put the kids through private school, etc. And I was sort of at that angry dad time. It was funny actually. Bauer Media, I enjoyed my time there, but the CEO, the acting CEO at that time, didn't renew my contract because he didn't want one of his executives on the internet swearing. Like,
I was going to ask about this.
Like, so fuck me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, whatever. But, you know, being known can open doors and all this sort of shit. So he's a bit naive back then.
Wow.
But it is what it is. They weren't going to renew the contract, and so be it. And then I did some sort of consulting and just sort of potted around for a few years, always working. They had to work, right? It wasn't like it was a free ride and I could afford not to work. And then I ended up, I went and worked at Melbourne United just for about 6-7 months. I knew Vince there, the CEO, and went and sort of worked with him in the sort of commercial corporate sort of sales side. And then I met a guy there who was a young fella, had an online cybersecurity business called FraudWatch. It doesn't exist as FraudWatch anymore. But I worked with him for 2.5 odd years, which was really good because it was through a really challenging time with COVID and the whole prostate cancer side of things. And then he sold the business, and he sold it for an absolute fortune, which was unreal because it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. And then, so you're weighing up COVID and being diagnosed with prostate cancer, and my daughter shifted to Gold Coast, and Sharon went with her, and we just said we just need a change. So let's go up there. And pretty much what happened, I got up there and I was still doing a little bit with FraudWatch them for 8 months before it stopped, and I thought, what am I going to do, right? I'm 52, turning 53, a lot of corporate experience. I don't want to work for anyone anymore. I'm sort of wondering if I'm going to live or die. And Chloe said, why don't you get into real estate? And I said, well, I've always loved real estate. I hate real estate agents. I hate them all. I just actually hate them. And I sit here saying that, and I'm one now, but I'm a very different one in many ways. And I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So Mitchell did the course with me. I did the longer course so I could open up the agency and have the license. And Mitch was going to be, helping sell properties and all this sort of shit. Well, that lasted about 1.5 minutes. and then Hannah went and did it as well. And Hannah's helped me with bits of it. But then she found a boyfriend and she spends more time in America. But that's actually how it happened. So I don't really hustle a lot. I'm there for people who actually might want to use me to help sell it, because you sort of offer a little bit of a point of differentiation. That's around that sort of parallel exposure via socials. You've got every real estate agent in the world out here trying to get, 3,000 views doing some sort of stupid video, whatever. So for the people that I've worked with, the vendors get that as part of the whole deal. And my content is what you see is what you get. I don't care if it's a blooper or whatever, I post it, right? It's about exposure, bringing incremental eyeballs to someone's asset. And it's worked really, really well. I don't annoy people. I don't ring, hustle, letterbox drop, all that sort of shit. Not through arrogance. It's just where I'm at, right? I have conversations with people that are thinking of listing, and if they want me to help them do it, great. If not, I don't ring them with a sob story and saying why you should use me, whatever. It's like when they come through and they want to buy something. If they want to buy it, they'll buy it. I don't ring them 20 times. I'm actually lucky if I ring them once. And again, not through arrogance. As someone who's actually bought property yourself, if you want to buy it, you'll ring the agent and you'll have that conversation about wanting to buy it. If they don't want to buy it, they won't buy it. Right? Now, am I doing the right thing by the vendor having that approach? I reckon I am. Right? Because I'm still selling properties. Some do, some don't. We haven't found the right buyer yet. That's the way I look at it.
I find it really interesting, even just utilising social media now. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing 10 years ago you probably wouldn't have dreamt of using it to the
No.
which is incredible. And like you said, so many people are vying for that opportunity to have some kind of following or name or something recognisable. Because there's one thing building it, but then now you've got a big following and eyeballs on you. It's then utilising it. So my question's more around where did you learn to kind of utilise your social media following? Or was it just organic?
I don't think you learn that.
Yeah.
I think it just actually happens, right? Because I can't sit here and say I'm good on camera, right? I can talk to people because that's what you do in a corporate life, and that's what you do in life in general, I suppose. And I'm far from good at it, as my bloopers would suggest if you've seen any of them. But that's all right. You can't get shit the first time in terms of takes, whether you're promoting, whatever. And I'm not too proud to actually know that it took me 3 goes to get it. Right? I think it actually adds to the whole thing. I mean, the current property I've still got now, I actually took my shirt off and put my old Collingwood jumper on as part of it. Took me an hour to get it on and 3 hours to get it off. But the apartment in Broadbeach is actually black and white, right? So it lent itself to the black and white theme. So I don't care. I just put that on. It's funny. It's, it's had a shitload of views, etc. Have I sold the property yet? No, but that just means we haven't found the right buyer yet. But it's still there to actually get some exposure to it. And, for me, my life motto always has been, what you see is what you get. And if you don't like it, and again, not through arrogance, I respect that, but I don't care. Because I'm good to everyone, I'm nice to everyone, and I'll talk to everyone until they give me a reason not to. And that's a bit of probably a cliche in some respects in any chat I've had on podcasts, etc. But that's just how I am.
Yeah, life's short, so why waste it worrying what people think? And I mean, that was going to be my next question was, you were faced with the big C word. What's it like being told you have cancer?
Ah, wow. Slap you in the face, basically. And mine was the same as Joe Biden's, which you will have seen in the news. At Gleason's 9, it's the worst you can get. It's the most aggressive. And so, from taking that call, Dylan and I were actually going to do a promo. We had Gold Class Cinema to ourselves to promote some movie that was being launched. So we were upbeat, whatever, let's go. We'll eat as much popcorn and chocolate and chips and shit as we can. Phone rang and I knew it was my doctor by the number. And I'd had blood tests a couple of weeks early. And I hadn't heard from him because normally you hear in 3 days or whatever, which was a bit weird in itself. But I knew it was him. And I said, okay, Dr. Sassy, what is it? Is it sugar or cholesterol? And he goes, don't worry about your sugar or cholesterol. You need to come and see me tomorrow. He said, your PSA is through the roof. And I said, what's that like? And he goes, yeah, don't panic. He said, don't panic, right? There can be a range of reasons why it's elevated or high, but I need to see you tomorrow. And as it turns out, I went to his clinic in Baronia the next day and the oncologist was there, the specialist. So he actually set aside some time for me to see him and he saw the PSA result, which is one step, the first step. Then he actually stuck the finger up the backside and he goes, it's not good. There's something going on in there. So the process can be a lengthy, drawn-out process. can take months before you get to a point where you know what you're doing. Well, within 3 weeks, I'd had that call about the PSA, the finger up the backside. I'd had the biopsy. I'd had the MRI. I'd had the PET scan, which checks your whole body, and I'd had the prostate out within 3 weeks. Just because they weren't taking any risk. They wanted me to fit into their calendar, the oncologist, the surgeon. I said, no, you just sat here and told me it's aggressive cancer. You go, oh, yeah, but it's aggressive, but doesn't necessarily mean that it'll spread quickly. I said, can it? Well, it can. I go, well, there you go. There you go. That was a Thursday. And then he said, well, my calendar's cooked. So it cost me more, but the following Tuesday, they share the robot. He had it in the morning, couldn't fit me in. Someone else had it in the afternoon. He come back in at 6 o'clock that night to do it because I wasn't taking no as an answer. Simple as that. And money talks, right? I'm not having a crack at him because at the end of the day, he has his own costs to redo the robot and all that sort of shit. But I wasn't taking no for an answer. And he accepted it. He goes, okay. And then when they got it out, because it's only yay big, right? He blew it up on the screen yay big, and 3/4 of it was just black, right, which is the cancer. But he zoomed in, and you could see a fraction like that of pink between the cancer and the edge of your prostate, which suggests at the time that we believe it hasn't spread, right? But there's never any promises, and the first 5 years are the most critical because it can spread and you have bits floating around your body. So I still get checked every 6 months now. I had results back only 3 weeks ago, and it's still what they call undetectable. So don't worry. Every time I go from him, I'm as nervous as shit. Just waiting for it's and that's with every cancer. So I get it with every single person that's suffering or has been through it, as to just how mentally, not just physically, because that's your own set of problems and battles. Let me tell you, but mentally, it's not fun to deal with.
We talked about this off air as well, especially when you've got, again, a social media profile. And then when it comes to charities or anything that's raising awareness, what are your thoughts? And I'm sure you've been approached by many of them now, especially as you become more outspoken about aligning with the right kind of people or charities or organisations or whatever it may be. Have you seen many kind of, I don't want to say sharks out there, but people that
No, not really, no. And I've sort of aligned myself with a company in Queensland called Man Up. It's a wife and daughter team. They lost their husband and father to cancer, prostate cancer, about 10 years ago-ish. They started Man Up 14 years ago before the husband passed away. And they are actually insane with what they actually do in his legacy. They travel regional and rural Queensland, and they actually go to mine sites and typically blokey sites, and they just spruik early detection, right? Because it's very simple, this whole prostate cancer side of things, and government needs to wake up and get their finger out of their ass as well. They do it with bowel cancer, but they just ignore prostate cancer. And it's early detection. It's very simple. You get onto this sort of stuff early, and it's one of the better cancers to have in a survival sense. But if you don't, it's as deadly as all of them. And so, it's, again, very simple. So what does that mean? Well, it should be mandatory for people, at a certain age, whether it's 50 or if it's in your family, even younger, 40, to actually just have PSA as an item checked in your typical blood test, etc. But they don't do it, right? And they're changing the rules all the time and not even testing people at 50, 60, 70. And it's a disgrace because at the end of the day, it's easier to treat it. The likelihood of survival is higher, and it's fucking cheaper.
Yeah.
Than when someone gets down the track and they're having radiotherapy and chemo and all this sort of shit. But you know what? We're dealing with government, right? Since when have they ever looked at something and applied common sense to it? It's just a disgrace.
Yeah.
So I'm very outspoken about that because having been through it myself, talked to a lot of people in public and in private about it, they've got a lot of work to do as far as that's concerned, right? And this is no, I applaud, and I actually messaged Tracy Bevan today. Actually, she's a beautiful person with the McGrath Foundation and what she's done for breast cancer, etc. And she's been able to lobby and get so much help and support. And God bless her, she's just a beautiful person and what she's done. But men get forgotten, and I'm not saying having a go at women, right? Because I think they need as much focus, if not more, as well. But men get forgotten in all this sort of shit, and it's time for people to actually become a bit vocal, speak up, and actually just spruik that message to men about early detection, because it's too late. I know, okay, Biden's probably not a great example because he's older anyway, and they reckon everyone at 80, 85 dies with prostate cancer anyway. They might not die of it, but they die with it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, just by and large, there's not enough being done about it.
Dave will tell you, but I'm very health conscious, as in too much, and I don't mean the food I eat and the exercise I don't do, but I probably more mean, going to the doctor too much or getting checked all the time. And I'm just gobsmacked, and I don't understand why even just a simple, like you saying, it can be detected, the PSA with one blood test. I just don't. We recently just did a partnership with a company called Everlab, and they're a longevity clinic. Mm-hmm. And I went and did all their testing and stuff, and they tested me for like 100 biomarkers just with a simple blood test. And they just took like 4 things of my blood and they gave me everything. And I don't know if it's because it costs too much to do, but I don't understand why we can't do that in a general annual physical with...
You know why? Because it's not a priority for government, right? At the end of the day, the world survives on people being sick. And the cynics will sit there and say, oh, yeah, here we go, these conspiracy theories. It's fact. There's so much that could be done that's so simple, and whether it's a state or a federal level, how much money's wasted on shit? And yet people are still actually getting sick. They can't find. They could find a vaccine for COVID in 2 days, right? Yeah. They still can't find a cure for cancer or any of that sort of shit. So what's it tell you? Yeah. And I know it's not as simple as that. I get all that sort of shit, but it's a good starting point in terms of drawing comparisons, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. It's as simple as that. And I don't look. I don't know if it's an old age thing, but I spend half my life on social media now just barking at politicians.
I had a laugh at your Instagram stories yesterday. You went to the shops, went to the groceries, and I'm full with him. He got 3 bags of groceries from Woolies. 3 bags.
Yeah, there's 4, so I'll give him
4.
a bit more credit.
Yeah.
$300, 4
bags.
Yeah.
A bit of fruit, probably some just general groceries, your meat, veg, whatever else. A couple of pantry items. How much do you reckon the 4 bags of groceries
I
were?
don't have a guess.
Have a stab.
$70.
Jesus
Christ. What was it? $268
it
or
was only
$298?
$300.
Yeah, $298.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And
let me
I had a giggle because I'm like, good on him, like for posting that, because everyone's going through that, but no one says anything.
No. Yeah. And you know what? At the end of the day, I do the shopping, right? Sharon does it at times, but I do it. I know the price of everything. And I know the Macona coffee used to be $6.80. It's now $14.50. That's 3 years ago. Yeah. And Coles and Woolies will sit there spruiking cheaper prices. We've dropped the price on 100 items, but they actually forget down the bottom. They go, but we've raised the prices on 400 other items, because that's just what they do. They think people are dumb.
Yeah.
That's what I just don't understand, and they get away with it. And people are calling them out these days with the yellow special tickets, and they lift them up, and it was either the same or what.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's insulting people's intelligence? Don't you reckon?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Christ, don't start me on politicians. Fair dinkum.
Well,
we should have got you in before the election. That would have been good.
We should have done an election special.
Yeah, we should have.
Angry Dad.
Man, I tell you now, and I think one video years ago did get a bit of traction over. I think it was to do with gay and lesbian rights or whatever, and it's just supporting what people do in their bedroom. I don't give a shit, but just government's approach to all this sort of shit.
Yeah.
They just waste their money.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Again, that's what they do. You got this the Premier here spruiking, how good it is because a regional train ticket to Bendigo is now $11 for everyone. So what? Everyone's going to jump in a train and go to Bendigo, are they? Meanwhile, 17 farmers that we know of have killed themselves in the last 2 weeks because of these taxes.
Yeah.
Where's the real issues? Like, this is humans. Like, it's just not right. But what do we do about it? I know people look at it and go, it's too complex to solve. In isolation, you can't solve it. It's about time people started getting together saying, you know what? We need to find a way to solve it. Local government, state government, federal government, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. They wouldn't last 1 second in private sector. None of them. Not one of them. They're just putrid. They go into private sector after their political careers because they can open doors. That's as simple as that. But they wouldn't know how to run a piss up in a brewery. Yeah, that's a very old saying. You don't.
Yeah.
I don't sleep at night. When Sharon goes, put your phone away. Put your phone away. Just put your phone
Turn it
away.
off.
You need one of those lock boxes.
I
for your
can't
phone.
help myself. I just. But
Don't worry, we get rolled up to no.
Well, did you see the latest with that that website which was supposedly promoting people awareness around GPs and give people choice around what a GP charges above Medicare? Did you see that one
No, I
recently?
didn't.
They've built this website, amazing government initiative. Okay, how much it cost? 24.2 million.
Yeah.
20, how many doctors are on it? 8. Oh, great. But there's 100 thinking of joining it. 24.2 million. Open it up on Shopify, it costs you $300.
Yeah.
But you know, it gets bought out. No bastard does anything about it. They don't pull back the sheets and go and say, righto, what department actually managed that project? Who actually oversaw the tendering process, the selection process? Where are the connections? There'll be connections back to people. Don't worry about that. Instead, they talk about it and they spruik about it for a day and it gets forgotten. In the meantime, 24.2 million on a website that's got 8 doctors on it? Where's your priority in spend? You're
with
talking
you,
about
trust
spend
me.
in the health department. Open up some more fucking hospital beds.
No, I'm with you. Trust me. Trust me.
But other than that, I like politicians.
Well, at least we've seen a bit of angry dad in the
Oh,
flesh
it
now.
I know,
We've got
yeah.
to
But
see
it
everything
frustrates
through
me because, again, the farmer thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People losing their mums and dads. They've had the farms in their family for generations, and now they're trying to weigh out whether they can spend money to feed their cattle or their sheep because they've got to pay all these frigging taxes, and they're in a
It's
drought.
out of control.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolute bullshit.
No, we don't want to get into my thoughts on the current government, but so we might leave that. But we will change gears, Dos, I think.
Okay,
do you want to?
let's do it. Yeah.
Now, Mark, obviously you've said across the last hour or so, we've heard a bit about some of the jobs you've worked. But are you handy with the tools?
Terrible.
Terrible?
Oh, really?
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, no.
You're a hire a hubby operator.
Yeah, very manual labour's not my go-to. My dad was unreal. He was a bricklayer and he was a spray painter. He was very manual. He was a bit, I called him MacGyver because he could turn a cigarette lighter into a blowtorch. Like he was insane.
really?
Every time he would come to our house, he'd just fix all the issues that had been lingering since his last visit. But me, no, terrible.
Well, we're going to make you a little bit more handy, aren't we, Dos? But first, before we give you the grand prize, we have to do Rexel confession booth, don't we,
Well,
Dos?
the Rexel confession booth, Rexel, they're our good friends, Mark.
Yes,
so
they are.
they are the #1 electrical wholesaler in Australia. Over, is it 127 stores?
127
Yeah.
stores across 100 years, Dos.
Wow. I
That's-
could have done with them. I'm doing a reno at the Gold Coast right now, which is the only bit of manual labour I've done for a long, long time. If I had known that beforehand, I would have supported him and got him
let him know.
involved.
Well, do you know what? You can download the app, Mark. We encourage all the dos&d listeners to download now the Rexel Rewired app, Dos, because it's quite unique and they've made a few changes.
Yeah,
haven't they?
enjoy a streamlined homepage, explore products with offline catalogs, scan items directly into your basket using our barcode scanner, and discover a range of innovative time-saving features.
That's right. So you can download the app on Apple, of course, Google now, and Dos, they've actually put a lot of time into the chat box. So if you're like myself, Mark, and your good self, Dos, and we're not too handy with the tools, we don't understand the lingo, chuck it in the chat box. It'll look after you. But for this segment, Mark, we've asked you to provide a bit of a confession as we enter the Rexel confession booth. I don't know if you're brought up Catholic by any chance. Or if you,
Non-practicing, but I was brought up a Catholic.
okay,
absolutely, yes,
so now it's time to enter the dos&d confession booth, which is a little bit different than the Catholic one, but
Yep.
we'd love you to confess something that may not be public knowledge, be anything you like.
Okay, so firstly, the Rexel confession booth must be a bigger booth than a conventional booth for me to fit in it. And I did.
He loves jabbing himself
does,
with the
he
weight
does.
jokes.
I did sort of mull over this one. I had a couple of things, but I have to. I do have to confess that I did get stoned in LA about 7 years ago. But here's the kicker: not through my doing, right?
Oh,
They weren't special brownies, were they?
Yeah, so listen
Oh.
to this. So Happy Time Murders, which is like the Muppets. You might
Okay.
remember it. It was a movie that premiered in America, and they flew me, Dylan and Mitchell out there to do some content, right? Actually, Raka were there as well. We
Oh,
spent
right.
Raka boys.
Yeah, they're flying.
Oh, insane.
Yeah,
Absolutely
unreal.
insane. What a great story. And what happened was, so we were just at one hotel, I think it was in West Hollywood, and I'm actually ripping into these jelly babies. I thought it was an Allen's party pack, right? So I'm ripping into them. They'd been to the fucking gummy store.
Oh, no.
I had no idea what they were. So I'm in the pool and they're watching me. Clearly, I had no idea. And I'm just ripping into these like a party mix.
pro.
And I was leaning on the edge of the pool and I went, I actually don't feel well.
My head's spinning.
I don't feel well. I'm going to go and have a sleep. And I reckon it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Wow.
Oh.
I didn't find out till the next day, right? But I went back to the room, tried to sleep. I was pacing up and down the floor, right? I got that frigging paranoid. I thought someone was trying to break into the room, right? I kept standing there waiting for the handle that I thought was moving to move, and I was open it, ready to go. Bang, who's there? And all I kept seeing was a fire hydrant straight across from the room. They actually destroyed me to the extent I couldn't sleep. I ended up shifting furniture in the hotel room and barricaded myself in the hotel room.
So you barricaded the door?
Yeah, so no bastard get in.
Yeah.
I got all paranoid thinking some bastards were attacking me.
Wow.
And it was the next day, they said, how'd you sleep? And I said, I didn't. And then they explained to me, I went off my head. I said, that could have killed me. They go, won't kill you, but you clearly felt shit and you had too many, but you were enjoying them. We didn't want you to stop.
Could have told me what they
Could have
were.
stopped me at some stage.
Can you believe that?
I
So
can't
those
believe it.
marijuana gummies or whatever, which are legal in
Yep,
LA,
yep.
I'm ripping into them like a party mix, like I said, and all of a sudden, bang. It was horrific, and oh my God. And then the next day, Raka come in and trying to get me to do the same. I said, guys, piss off. Just go.
Yeah.
Just absolutely
No,
go.
Mark, there's a natural confectionery.
So that's
That might be my favourite so far.
That's,
Yeah,
the
that
one,
is-
that's the one I said. And look, it wasn't fun. I moved this dirty big wardrobe in the inside of my room
Can you picture
across
just
to the door.
waddling it over, just moving it?
I thought someone was trying to kill me,
Oh, that's...
and I'd never ever want to go to that place again.
Fair
Oh,
enough.
that
Ever.
is... that was fantastic. I was not expecting that. I mean, I'm sorry for laughing at your expense again, like we haven't
Well,
done for the last
yes.
12 years, but that is very funny. Maybe, Connor, you can bring over the Rexel goodie box for
Yeah,
Mark.
thank you for that great confession, Mark.
So-
We've got, Rexel, I've got a little goodie box for you.
Yeah, and we'll
Fantastic.
rip into some of
What's
the
in,
dos&d.
what's in the goodie box?
Oh, well, it's a bit of mixture of everything
you,
in there.
Connor.
There's just a few Rexel goodies. There might be a couple of little handy tools for you in there.
We'll open this.
Don't stress it if you can't
the
open
pistachio
it. It's all right.
chocolates
There
in
you go.
there, mate, for you as well. The
famous Dubai
pistachio chocolate, so it gives you
chocolate.
a bit of a snack before the...
Well, I'm here for a couple of days, so I tell you that'll go down well about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Chocolates, right? Look at that, fantastic.
Now we're going to do the rest of the dos&d goodie bag. So bring out the first one, which looks to be Mitch Dowd. Now Mitch Dowd have looked after you, Mark, with some goodies. Mitch Dowd are leading the way when it comes to all things socks, jocks, pajamas. They also own Russell Athletic too. So
Oh, fantastic!
yeah, so
Excellent.
in there, have a look, open it up, and let's see what they've sent you. But while Mark's doing that, guys, if you are a dos&d viewer or listener,
Beautiful.
you can check out mitchdowd.com.au and use the code dos&d40 for 40% off store-wide.
Jump on that. 40%
Fantastic.
off.
Now, what have they sent you? Socks and jocks, by the looks?
Socks and jocks.
Oh, some
I could have
boxes.
done with them at One Hollywood about 7 years ago. I can tell you now.
Oh, what's that? That's not a...
Look at that.
that
Best
a-
dad ever. There you go.
Oh, that's
there you
nice.
go.
Look at that. Best dad ever.
Best dad ever. There we go.
Clearly Dylan Mitchell aren't behind that one.
Yeah. What's next, Connor?
Wonderful.
Oh, we got the Milkman. Milkman are leading the way in all things men's grooming.
Excellent.
And that's the shaving cream. Is it?
Yes,
The
yes,
shaving
it
cream.
is.
So
Well, lo and behold, you know what? I've got no shaving cream left. So
Really? They just knew.
things happen for a reason.
Things
don't
just
they?
happen for a
That
reason.
is
It is.
excellent. And
So-
actually, I've not seen it like that before. So that will take pride of place in my shower in Broadbeach. Let me tell you.
Well,
So
I'll
I'll
tell you
even
what-
take a photo of it and send it to you.
Please
Please
do
do.
it,
We'd love
because
that. I will.
Milkman, they're actually based up in Queensland.
Oh, excellent.
So they're nice
They
and
are
local
too,
for you.
yeah.
And I use the Milkman powder every day in my hair.
yeah, the volume powder.
The volume
Bit of
powder, yeah, gives
Head
a
to
little-
Milkman Australia, guys. Milkmanaustralia.com for 20% off. Use the code dos&d.
Yes. Next one, we've got the sups. Now, this might give you a bit of PTSD. I'm a little bit worried about these ones. Now,
Harmless
these ones
gummies.
are harmless.
So, Sup.
Can
Mark,
I trust you? Though?
Our friend,
Rip into them.
Our friends from Sup are sending Mark home with their high performance gummy range. They're leading the
Fantastic.
way in all things performance gummies. So visit supsupplements.com now to shop and use the code dos&d for 30% off store wide. Sup, find us in Coles, Woolworths, and select Chemist Warehouse
Now,
stores.
they've been very generous. There's a few more in the bag for you. What is Connor giving you? Which ones are those ones?
These are
The creatine?
The creatine?
the Cretan and the Boom G. Is it?
Boom G, yeah.
Boom G.
There's a pre-workout in there for you too. All the flavours, but this is the issue with them. This is how good they are. You can actually pop them like lollies. They taste so good.
Really?
So just
Hey,
be,
anything to do with the lolly, you don't have to ask
Oh,
me
mate.
twice.
Trust me, you'll think I might just have one. Good luck.
Just don't have the pre-workout one. That'll
and
keep you
otherwise
buzzing.
Get you jittering. And of course, to finish it all off, the dos&d goodie bag. So this is where it all comes together, mate. Just a few gifts from our naming right partners, Fleet Plant Hire Solutions. Without them, we don't do the show.
Fantastic,
Dos.
mate.
No.
Inside there, mate. I don't know if you play golf, but there's some
I
golf.
do play golf.
There's some golf gloves, some golf towel, tees, balls.
Fantastic.
You'll be laughing.
A few goodie bags to take
Excellent,
home to
mate.
Queensland with you. But
Jeez, I hope he didn't just bring carry-on to Melbourne because
No, I've got check-in. That's fantastic.
I don't know how he's going to get all
And
this
I
on carry-on.
got a golf day next Friday, actually.
Oh,
in
beautiful.
Brisbane. So there you go.
There you go.
That will come in very handy.
Talk about timing. Yeah.
There's a few balls
Hey,
in there.
time,
you
yeah.
can Try
I'll
not
make
to
sure I have a
lose.
shave before I go there.
You can
And
use
if
all
I'm
the
actually
product.
feeling down, I'll actually take some of these.
exactly,
Hey, I'm set for life.
Mate, you're
This is
set.
good.
You're set.
Yeah.
But, mate, that's our little way of saying thank you. We really appreciate teeing this up. We've been talking for not too long, but we thought it might be hard to organise a time. But, again...
Stars aligned.
Stars aligned. The Pies were playing tonight, and we managed to sort this out. So, mate, we were thrilled. We've been so excited to chat with you, and we really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. I've loved your journey. I've watched it closely, and you're doing a cracking job. And just keep up the good work, boys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Mark.